The transmission came through at exactly 0347 hours, cutting through the silence of the bridge like a knife through flesh. Admiral Chen Wei stood at the command console, his weathered hands gripping the rail as the holographic display flickered with incoming data. The Kethrani Armada had arrived 3 days ahead of schedule. 217 capital ships, 43 carriers, over 9,000 fighter craft. The largest invasion force the galaxy had ever witnessed was now bearing down on the Varick system, and the only thing standing between them and the 17 billion human colonists was the Imperial Third Fleet. General Marcus Holt's face appeared on the main screen, his expression tight with barely concealed fear. He was broadcasting from the safety of High Command, nearly 400 light years away from the battlefield. His uniform was crisp and clean. His hands were steady because they had never held a weapon in combat. Admiral Chun, you are hereby ordered to execute an immediate tactical withdrawal. Pull your forces back to the Argonne Line. We cannot afford to lose the Third Fleet in a direct engagement. The mathematics simply do not favor our survival. Chun looked at the screen for a long moment. Behind him, the bridge crew had gone completely silent. Every officer, every technician, every soldier on that ship knew what retreat meant. It meant abandoning Barracks 4. It meant leaving 17 billion people to face the Kethrani alone. The Kethrani did not take prisoners. The Kethrani did not negotiate. The Kethrani consumed. General Holt, Chun said slowly, with all due respect, I must decline your order. The silence that followed was absolute. On the screen, Holt's face turned red with fury. You will do no such thing, Admiral. This is a direct order from High Command. You are bound by military law to obey. If you refuse, you will be stripped of your rank and court-martialed. Do you understand the consequences of what you are suggesting? Chun turned away from the screen and looked out the main viewport. The stars stretched before him, cold and infinite. Somewhere out there, beyond the darkness, the Kethrani were coming. He thought about his daughter. She lived on Barracks 4. She had 2 children of her own now. He had never met them in person. I understand the consequences perfectly, General, Chun replied without turning around. I also understand that if we retreat, 17 billion people die. That is not acceptable to me. That is not acceptable to any member of this fleet. Holt slammed his fist on his desk. You cannot win this fight. The enemy outnumbers you 5-1. You have 62 ships against their 217. This is not heroism. This is suicide. Commander Sarah Blake stepped forward from her station. She was young, barely 32, but she had more combat experience than most officers twice her age. She had lost her entire family during the Kethrani raid on New Helsinki. She had nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. Admiral, she said quietly, the crew stands with you. Every ship in the fleet has reported in. They are ready. Chun nodded slowly. He finally turned back to face the screen. General Holt, I want you to record this moment. I want you to remember what happens here today. You sit in your comfortable office and you look at numbers on a screen. You see ships and soldiers as statistics, but we are not statistics. We are human beings, and human beings do not abandon their own. He reached out and terminated the connection. Holt's furious face vanished, replaced by the tactical display. 217 red dots were advancing toward their position. 62 blue dots held the line. Captain Jorge Mendez of the destroyer Relentless was the first to break radio silence. His voice crackled through the fleet-wide channel, rough with emotion. Admiral Chun, the Relentless is with you. We did not join the Imperial Navy to run from a fight. We joined to protect our people. Whatever happens today, we face it together. More voices followed. The Valiant, the Thunderchild, the Indomitable, the Fury. One by one, every ship in the Third Fleet declared their loyalty. They knew the odds. They knew they were probably going to die. But they chose to stand anyway. Chun opened a channel to the entire fleet. Soldiers of the Third Fleet, in a few hours, we will engage an enemy that outnumbers us 5-1. High Command has ordered us to retreat. They have told us that we cannot win. They have told us that this battle is pointless. He paused, letting his words sink in. They are wrong. On every ship in the fleet, men and women stopped what they were doing to listen. Engineers put down their tools. Pilots climbed into their cockpits. Gunners checked their weapons one final time. We are not fighting because we are certain of victory, Chun continued. We are fighting because 17 billion innocent people are depending on us. We are fighting because if we do not stand here, now, then who will? We are fighting because we are human. And humans do not abandon their own. He took a deep breath. Today, we show the Kethrani what humanity is made of. Today, we remind the galaxy why they should fear us. Not because of our technology, not because of our numbers, but because of our spirit, because of our courage. Because when everything seems lost, we fight harder, we fight smarter, we fight until our last breath. He straightened his uniform and squared his shoulders. All ships, advance to attack formation Omega-7. We are not retreating. We are not surrendering. We are going straight through them. The Third Fleet surged forward into the darkness. The first engagement happened at 0612 hours. The Kethrani commander, a creature known as Warlord Cathazar, had expected the humans to flee. Every tactical model, every historical precedent, every logical analysis suggested that an inferior force would retreat against such overwhelming odds. When the Third Fleet accelerated toward his armada, instead of away from it, he was genuinely confused. The Relentless was the first ship to draw blood. Captain Mendez had positioned his destroyer at the very tip of the human formation. His gunners opened fire the moment they entered weapon range, unleashing a devastating barrage of plasma torpedoes directly into the lead Kethrani cruiser. The enemy ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, and the battle had begun. What followed would later be called the most intense naval engagement in human history. The Third Fleet carved through the Kethrani formation like a burning sword, never stopping, never hesitating. They fought with a ferocity that the Kethrani had never witnessed before. Human pilots flew their fires directly into enemy carriers, detonating their reactor cores in suicide runs. Human Marines boarded enemy ships and fought hand-to-hand in the corridors, refusing to surrender even when they were hopelessly outnumbered. The Valiant took critical damage within the first hour. Her captain, Elizabeth Wong, ordered all non-essential personnel to the escape pods, then rammed her burning ship directly into a Kethrani dreadnought. Both vessels were consumed in a nuclear fireball that could be seen from orbit. The Thunderchild held the center of the formation for 3 hours against continuous assault. When her weapons finally failed, her engineering team overloaded the main reactor and created an explosion that destroyed 6 enemy ships in a single instant. But for every victory, there was a terrible cost. The Third Fleet was dying. Ship after ship was destroyed or disabled. The blue dots on the tactical display were disappearing one by one. By the 4th hour of battle, only 19 human vessels remained operational. And yet, they kept fighting. Admiral Chun watched from the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Resolve, as his fleet was torn apart around him. He should have felt despair. He should have felt regret. But all he felt was pride. These men and women were giving everything they had. They were buying time for the evacuation transports that were even now lifting off from Varix 4. They were saving lives. The Kethrani were winning, but they were paying a price for every inch they took. Warlord Cathazar stared at the tactical display in disbelief. His fleet had lost 87 ships. 87 of his finest vessels, destroyed by a force less than a third his size. This was not how the battle was supposed to go. This was not how the humans were supposed to fight. He opened a channel to the human flagship. Human Commander, your resistance is impressive but futile. Surrender now, and I will grant your surviving crews a quick death. Continue fighting, and I will ensure your suffering is legendary. Chun's response came immediately. Cathazar, I have a counteroffer. Turn your fleet around and leave this system. If you do, I will allow you to live. If you continue forward, I will destroy every single one of your ships. Every last one. Cathazar laughed, a horrible scraping sound. You have 19 ships remaining. I have 130. You are in no position to make threats. I have something you do not, Chun replied calmly. I have nothing to lose. The eternal resolve surged forward, leading the survivors of the Third Fleet in one final charge. They did not fire immediately. They did not need to. They had been saving their remaining firepower for this moment. At point-blank range, 19 human ships unleashed everything they had left. Every torpedo, every missile, every beam weapon. The barrage was apocalyptic. Kathrani ships exploded by the dozens. Cathazar's own flagship was struck multiple times. And then something unexpected happened. New signals appeared on the long-range sensors. Hundreds of them. They were approaching from the direction of the Argon line. They were human. The Fourth Fleet had arrived. And the Fifth. And the Seventh. While the Third Fleet had been fighting, word had spread across the Empire. Other admirals, other captains, other soldiers had heard what Chun was doing. They had ignored High Command's orders and rushed to join the battle. Cathazar watched in horror as 600 fresh human warships dropped out of hyperspace and immediately opened fire. The Kathrani armada, already battered and demoralized, broke. Ships began turning and fleeing in every direction. Their formation collapsed. Their discipline vanished. They ran. The Battle of Orcs was over. Of the 62 ships that had composed the original Third Fleet, only 7 remained operational. Over 40,000 human soldiers had died, but 17 billion colonists had been saved. Admiral Chen Wei survived the battle. He was immediately arrested upon returning to Earth and charged with insubordination. His court-martial lasted exactly 1 day. The judges, unable to convict the man who had saved an entire system, dismissed all charges. The Kathrani never again attempted a major invasion of human space. The story of what happened at Varix spread across the galaxy. Species that had dismissed humanity as weak and unimportant began to watch them with new eyes. The humans, they realized, were not like other races. The humans did not surrender. The humans did not retreat. When pushed to the edge, they pushed back harder. High Command said retreat. The Imperial fleet said advance. And in that moment of defiance, humanity proved what it truly meant to be human. Some battles cannot be won with numbers or technology. Some battles can only be won with heart. And on that day, the heart of humanity burned brighter than any star.